Welcome to the Cancer Joy Club. Here we share uplifting stories and chat with amazing guests who guide us through cancer healing and journeying and beyond. And we spread that joy together. So I'm Jasmine, and we have Grace, our co-host, who is an amazing relationship coach, a cancer survivor. Both of us have made it through stage 3, and she's also a hilarious comedian. So, Grace, come on in. Let's
Well,
get this.
hello. Thank you for that intro. So today I'm so excited, Jazz, because I've been talking to this lady on Twitter, well, X, and she has an organization called Together for Cancer. And we're going to find out today more about this organization and her. And guess what?
Hmm.
This is the first time that she goes out to the world to show who is behind Together for Cancer.
I love that. Yay, what an honor. Okay.
Yes, so we have an exclusive, y'all watching out there. We have an exclusive today. Yes, we do. So I'm going to introduce Shruti. She is the founder of Together for Cancer, and she reveals her identity for the first time.
Oh.
Discover her mission to empower cancer patients and caregivers. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Shruti.
Yay.
Hey, thank you for having me. And the honor is all mine. I am so,
Oh,
so glad to be here. So thank you, Grace, for reaching out. I'm a very, very private person. I never imagined that I would be talking to people on Twitter and talking to fantastic people like you. But I think I'm so glad that it happened. And I'm so glad to be here to talk to you, fantastic people. So
and we're
thank
so happy that you're here because your work is amazing. And I
you.
love that you do it behind the scenes where it's like, I don't want to, get praise for it or like, I'm just doing this for the cause.
Yeah, to
That
help
tells
people
me,
have a
right, Jazz?
life. Yeah, to help people in the world, to help people communicate, to learn things they need to learn. Like that's an amazing support. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So um, can I can I tell you about why
Yes,
this is?
please.
Yes, of course. That was my next question, actually. Can you tell us about your journey as a cancer caregiver and how it inspired you to create Together for Cancer?
Yes, so it's a long journey. I am a pharmacist. I grew up in India. Always wanted to be a pharmacist, and that's what I became. And then I joined the pharmaceutical industry. I did a PhD and all that stuff, but I joined the pharmaceutical industry in medical affairs. And it is at that time, some 12 years back, that my husband was diagnosed with cancer. And suddenly, any diagnosis, it completely changes your perspective, it changes your life. And I realized that in spite of being in the healthcare industry, in spite of having all the knowledge, all the resources, I was completely lost. My husband was lost, and we were getting recommendations that were not necessarily aligned to guidelines.
Mhm.
And there was this despair associated with the disease, rightfully so. But maybe I should tell you, I would be the only and the first person in the world who would congratulate the husband on being diagnosed, because because when we got the diagnosis, we had like four different alternatives that could have happened. And then when we went through second opinions and went through a pathology review, we found that we had a very rare kind of cancer that was, uh, I hate to use the word, but considered the better cancer of
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
various options, right?
Okay.
So when we came out of the report and I went to my husband and I was like, congratulations. He's like, no cancer? I said, no, we do have it, but I can handle this. At least I know what it is. At least I know it is early stage, and at least I know how to handle this. So let's get on to working with this. But even then, even after the diagnosis, it took a long time for us to get to an oncologist that would treat by the latest guidelines. There was a disconnect between how, and I was in India at that time. I was consulting oncologist at MSKCC. I was consulting at Johns Hopkins, and even at premier institutions there was disconnect between what people were recommending, because the guidelines had only recently been updated, and therefore it was a maze to find a fantastic oncologist at some time who said, okay, this is the way we go forward. I know it is a risk, but considering that my husband was 32 at that point of time, uh, it was a risk worth taking. And thankfully, we aligned on a plan, had a fantastic team to work through, and got through. He's been doing extremely well. But the whole experience changed my perspective about life. And I came to, within the industry, I moved into oncology. I started supporting the cell and gene therapies. I worked towards the launch of the first CAR T therapy in the world. It was fantastic. And then 2 years back, my dad was again diagnosed with a different kind of cancer, which is horrible because, again, it was we revisited the same memories again. There was still a disconnect between how patients should be treated. And in this case, even it was even worse because there was some apathy related to the elderly. They were oncologists who said,
Really?
The-
yeah, you can do an open surgery because it doesn't, aesthetics don't matter to him. He's 75. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? So I saw that there was disconnect. There was, and being in the pharma industry, I knew that we create a lot of resources, we
Mhm.
create a lot of educational materials for patients, but if they're not reaching the patients when they actually need it, then what is the point? And so after 15 years in the industry, last year I took an off, and I started this mission called Together for Cancer, which is a platform for cancer education. All I want here is for people to have credible information that is backed by evidence, uh, so that they know what to do, where to ask, what are the questions to ask their patient physicians, and how to actually get your life together when you're diagnosed with cancer. So that's what I'm trying to do. And also bringing in some hope. I think positivity, some optimism is a very, very powerful tool in the journey. And that's why I love the name of your podcast, Some Joy, right? We have the hand that we are all dealt with, but
Mhm.
what can we do to make it better? What can we do to come out stronger, to make the best use of the resources and the science that is available to us? So that's what I'm doing. Long answer for a short question, but
No, that
here
that
I
was amazing. That was excellent. A great answer. And you know, I found when I was doing chemo, there were women like you start talking, 'cause there's nothing to do. It's so boring when you're being infused for hours. So I started talking to this woman, and I asked her questions like, "What's your stage? What is the treatment plan?" She had no idea, and I was like asking her questions, and I was like, "You know what? Write these questions down and ask your doctor because you need to know. It's so important that the patient be informed
Right,
because that gives you power." And it gives you the information you need to make decisions also about your treatment.
right.
So do
Should
you, yes,
oh,
go ahead, Jess.
oh, I was going to say, what questions do you, from your experience and from putting all of this information together, what are some of the questions that jump out as like these are the things people should be asking? If you had to give like a top three, a top five, ask these questions.
So first, my first question is understand the diagnosis. Like
Mhm.
what exactly is the disease and what stage I am in, right? So that is very important. The second thing is about finding, are there any biomarkers? Science has evolved so much that we are more and more in the era of targeted medicines. What is the specific kind? Is there a biomarker available for my disease, and what is it? Right, there has to be something, and this is helpful because this is potentially that can help avoid chemotherapy if possible. More targeted is less
Mhm.
uh, destruction throughout the rest of the body.
Yeah.
Then the third thing that I always ask patients to ask about is, what are my options?
Mhm.
Every physician would have a way of treating, right? Which rightfully so, it is based on their several years of experience. But every journey is different, every patient is different, every goal is different. So you have to find out what your options are, and then find out, very clearly also communicate what your goals are, and which are the best ones that fit into your goals, right? There could be for example, there is one of the drugs that I worked with in the past. The same treatment, the same disease could be treated with an injectable versus an oral. Now, an injectable needed a weekly visit to the hospital, while an oral could be taken at home. It is important to communicate with your physician and tell him or her whether it's feasible for you, because you could have childcare issues to go there. You cannot take off from work every time to go there. You don't want to pay the parking fees to go there every week, right? Those are very practical issues of living with cancer. So it is important for your physician to know what your goals are and what your challenges are. Then I always say that either you advocate for yourself or you get a patient advocate. You either know about the disease inside out. So there is this one website called, it's a little technical, but Up to Date. I have absolutely no affiliation for them, but they're a very good platform for physician education. It's uptodate.com. They have a weekly pass that is available. It's a $20 pass. You can get access to all the information that physicians have information to.
Wow.
When I Yeah, when I have a need to know more about a cancer, I get a $20 pass. I go in, I read up as much as I can, or share it with somebody who can understand it more than me, and understand your disease, understand your treatment options,
Yeah.
uh, so that you know. And then get a second opinion. It is always, I know that we have insurance issues in our country, but wherever possible, get a second opinion, because it doesn't hurt.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. Second opinions, I think, are extremely important. In my personal experience, it actually could have saved my life, because it went to the lymph nodes, right? I had breast cancer and it went to the lymph nodes. And the doctor was like, oh, no, on the MRI doesn't show whatever. And I went for a second opinion, and the doctor was like, I see one lymph node right there that shows that it has cancer. I can tell because of the shape. And I was like, yeah, that's where it itches a lot, that part. And so I told the oncology surgeon, make sure you get that lymph node because that one apparently is infected. And she got, out of three, she got that one. So the other ones were not infected. I think it just started to spread. So if the second opinion doctor wouldn't have caught that lymph node, then maybe they would have taken three lymph nodes that were not infected with cancer, and then it would have spread, and I wouldn't have known. They would have said, oh, it's stage one or two, it's okay.
Yeah.
So it can save your life. Guys, get a second opinion, please.
100%. Or even if you don't, my story is somewhat similar in that I started with one oncologist who was very dismissive. I had a very small stage one. He said, "You're fine. Don't even worry about it." Well, yeah, you'll be fine. But it took so long to get any sort of movement with him. And he kept pushing it aside, that it was weeks. And I finally had to change oncologists because nothing was happening. And it turned out by the time that I got into surgery, I also had it spread to my lymph node. Luckily, I had a great team at that point. But if you don't like your doctor, change.
Change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You should be able to have a conversation with them. Like,
yes.
dismissive, the word that you used, I get furious when I hear that, because that is the reality, right? And I don't even blame the doctors, especially in the community oncology setting. I know that our doctors are overwhelmed. I know that there's so many patients, sadly, that they're 20-minute schedules and they're waiting for the next one, and there's so many people who are looking for our help, right? But at the same time, if you're not able to connect with your doctor, you're not able to be open with him or her, I think it is time to change and make sure that you get somebody that you who listens to you and explains to you like like fourth grader. That is the level of information that we need.
I
Ask.
used to go into my appointments and say, just explain it to me like I don't know anything. Just
Yes.
like a small child. Please tell me like a small child.
That's great
And she
because we are we don't know anything about it, right? When we get
Exactly.
into it after our cancer journey, we get become experts in cancer. but but
But the
before
jargon
then,
is overwhelming. It is so much
yes,
jargon that like medical professionals use unknowingly because that is the normal language that we have, right? So I think it is required to find somebody who can simplify it to you, write it down, take notes as much as possible, uh, because you're anyway spinning in your head, so nothing stays too much. So
yeah,
note, take a recorder if possible, and if your doctor is okay with it, record the conversation and come back and revisit it.
100%.
great.
And also find a doctor that when you say, during the care period afterwards or during your chemo, like, I don't know, I have a pimple here and it hasn't changed and it's been there forever. And I want to get it checked for cancer. And if they say, oh, no, it's a pimple, it's okay, don't worry. I'm like, but if my oncologist, she says she has OCD, so she's like, pimple, MRI. It's like, so I love her because I am a hypochondriac and she's an OCD doctor, so we're like the perfect team.
Perfect combination.
I love I love mine too. Anytime I'm like, hey, I had some people who told me, go request a PET scan, even though she wasn't required. I was like, I would like a PET scan. She's like, okay, sure.
Yep.
Anything I've asked for, she has given me. The same thing where I was like, I've got a dark spot. And she's like, dermatologist, go. I'm like,
Yep.
great, thank you. Yeah.
A
I think
hundred
it is
percent.
okay to be overcautious,
Yes.
and get a clarity of and peace of mind rather than be wondering and waiting for
Mhm.
it to explode. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. The anxiety is overwhelming. The fear of recurrence is real. That's one thing that's very real. And I know that you've been a cancer caregiver, and I wanted to ask you, how do you deal on an emotional and psychological level with the people that you have taken care of?
oh, I still am a mess. It's been 12 years for my husband. He was first diagnosed with a lymph node on the neck. Even till date, if he keeps his hand here, I get paranoid. I'm like, is everything
Mhm.
okay? I know that there are no bloody lymph nodes there at all. Like
It
everything is
doesn't matter. I know.
I can't see a hand there. So I think once you've been in the journey, you are on that journey forever. I was
Yes.
talking to my dad this morning. Uh, like I, he had a problem with this sinus cavity. Again, we got rare kinds of cancers both the time, but then yeah, he had a stiff headache for the last couple days, and I again, like, okay, can we go back to an ENT, just get an endoscopy done, because I think it is very difficult. But at the same time, there are things that you can do, right? The reality of anxiety is there,
Yes.
but at the same time, I really really believe in science. One, so I read up about the advancements that have happened for the specific kinds of cancers that we're dealing with. And I even now know that if I assume that there is a possibility of a relapse at any point of time. So I
Yeah.
know that if there is a relapse today, what are the options that are coming, and I celebrate every time the science has advanced a little more. uh,
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was on TikTok because that's my source of information.
oh my goodness, yes.
And there was a doctor that was saying that cancer treatment, there's a new thing that's happening, a new advancement. And so he was like, in 20 years, maybe it's not going to be a problem as it is now anymore. Like, it's not going to be as anxiety ridden of a disease. But so I'm thinking, it's like every time they make an advancement, then we have a better chance of surviving it. So even if we do get recurrence, then science is advancing tremendously, like immunotherapies. I was HER2 positive, and also Jazz and I, we were both estrogen positive. So we're doing immunotherapy. I did infusions for a year for the HER2 positive,
Mhm.
and 20 years ago,
There was
that was
nothing.
not available.
Yeah. What's a fun new advancement that you read about? Is there something you're like, oh, that's nice. That's neat.
Oh, the changes that were discussed at ASCO this year, I think there are huge advancements in the lung cancer space and also in the breast cancer space. I think those are
Yes.
completely changing the way we treat lung as well as breast cancer. So I'm very excited about it.
Ah,
And I really, really do believe that it is within your lifespan and mine, we will be reaching a point where cancer is like the hypertension, right? It's an
Yes,
annoyance, but it's something that we are not scared of. So
I
right.
agree.
I'm so
Yeah.
upbeat about it.
I
Same.
agree 100%. I think, and that's what this doctor was saying. Like in 20 years, it's not like you're saying, it might not, it's not going to be like a big deal like it is now. People hear cancer. There's also a stigma. Like people hear when I say, like, they don't know I had cancer and they talk and they're like normal. And then if I say something, they change the vibe completely. Do you find that's true also when you talk about cancer? People are like, you
Oh
know,
no, I don't know what to do now. Where am I? Okay, how are things going otherwise? Right?
I know, I know.
Sure, what
How
to
is
do?
it? So for me, one big annoyance that I had was cancer ghosting, and it is real. Did you guys feel it?
Cancer
Uh,
Yep.
what?
Ghosting.
Ghosting?
Oh my God,
Oh
yes.
yeah,
Oh my God, yes. On social media. Also,
and
like
everything.
people are scared they're going to get cancer from me.
Or even just they don't know how to
They don't know how to live.
interact anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. What is that?
Yeah. So I don't know. So for us, so I'm a private person. I don't talk too much, especially when I'm struggling with something. So there was this one person that I discussed with, and I told him, the only person besides my well, not even my family, even I didn't have the heart to tell my mom when my husband was diagnosed, or even my father-in-law. So we had a very limited set of people who knew in the family, and outside of it, I told one person because we were very close friends. And next day he vanished. I just didn't see him for 3 months till the time we were getting treatment. And then he comes back and saying that, oh, I was so scared to talk to you. I was like, holy cow, maybe I do not want to talk to you anymore, because you have to get over your anxiety and be there for me. And I think just being present, you don't want people to give you advice, you don't want people to tell you drink this green tea, drink this concoction. You just want people to be
Yes,
there.
absolutely. We don't want advice because we have doctors and we have other cancer survivors and patients that we talk to, and we don't want pity.
Yeah.
We don't
No,
want ghosting. That's for sure. That tells you who your friends are, to be honest.
it really does. Yeah, there were a lot of.
Absolutely.
I
All
was
we
like,
need,
oh, okay, haven't heard. Sounds good. I guess that's done. That's okay,
absolutely.
and that's okay to
And
Yes,
that's
have,
okay.
yes.
Yes.
because that leaves room for people like Grace in my life. People like you, Shruti. So yeah,
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And
yeah.
I made a video actually about what to tell a cancer patient or somebody who's been diagnosed. Like, how about telling us, hey, I'm going to Uber eat some food to you now?
Yes.
Or, I had my Spanish, I tutor Spanish in my adult class. One of them cooked for me and she brought me food to my door as an act of love. And the other students didn't want to make the trip. They gave me Uber Eats. Like, I mean, I was like blown away. Like, that's what we need. Or just listen to us complain about cancer for a minute or uh,
For a
cry
few.
with us.
Just
Yeah,
take the kid
yeah.
away for a day, right? People who have kids, just give me the space to be, by helping me take care of my kids or take care of my dog for a day. Even
Yes,
that is helpful, right? So yes,
yes,
I have a video as well which talks about what to say to a cancer patient. Well, I hate the word cancer patient also. I have to correct my patient with cancer, not a
yes.
cancer patient. Yeah.
Great
So
distinction.
what to say to a patient who's been diagnosed with cancer, what to not say, and what to ask your doctors. I can forward those videos to you if they
Oh,
help
Please.
other people.
yes. And people can find them at your Together for Cancer website. Yes. Or
Uh,
what will they
yes.
find when they go there?
Yeah, so I have presence on Twitter where mostly it is text information, but I also have Instagram handle, and now in the last 1 month also on TikTok. I never in my world
I
life
love
believed
that.
that I would be on TikTok, but I'm on TikTok now, where I've
Yes.
started talking about these. It's still a faceless brand, but I talk about things that I think are relevant for people. So all my videos are on my Instagram and TikTok channels.
I love it. And your handle is always together, number four cancer.
That is right. Yes.
Excellent. So follow her on Instagram, X, and TikTok.
Yeah.
Definitely. There's a huge community, cancer community on X, and I tapped into that. The algorithm just put me in there. That's how I met you, Shruti. And also on TikTok, there's a huge cancer community. And it's so amazing because you get people who are going through the journey that have the guts to share it. I didn't have the guts to share it while I was going through it. I needed my privacy, but a
Privacy.
lot of people do it, and it's so just not be it's beyond helpful. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in this. Even if you already had your treatment and you're cancer free, you're like, oh, I felt this too.
Yeah.
Oh, I this happened to me too. It
Mhm.
is so healing. So I encourage all people who are going through the journey or have gone through the journey to put out videos, put out content, because that is extremely helpful for people that are going through it or have gone through it, and they can relate to what you're saying. So thank you for your work, Shruti. We appreciate it so much.
Oh, you're
Completely my
amazing.
decision. I hope so. I was talking to my dad and about leaving my job and starting this thing, and dad was like, he kept quiet, listened to me about what I was doing, and he said, if one person in the world ever gets benefited from what you're doing, I would be happy with what you're doing. So don't worry, just keep
Oh,
going. And I
Yeah.
think that that's what we are
Yeah.
hoping for. That becomes a trusted source for information that can help people in the long run.
absolutely. And one thing that you say or Jazz says or I say can help one person,
That's
you made it.
exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Well,
Oh,
for we're almost at the 30-minute mark that we keep our podcast chop chop chop. So thank you so much for joining us and for being here exclusively for the first time, showing
yeah.
who you are, the face behind Together for Cancer. Please follow her, guys. She's
Yeah.
amazing, as you can see, beautiful soul.
All right.
And
Now, now you're part of the Cancer Joy Club. You're in it.
I'm so, so glad to be here, and thank you very much. It is fantastic talking to you.
Thank
same
you.
here, same here. I truly enjoy talking to you, and
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.